Welcome to Frida's World, the podcast for professional Black women who are ready to achieve total wellness and balance. Here we explore the unique experiences, challenges, and triumphs of Black women who are striving to live their best lives in all areas, from career and finances to relationships and health. Join us as we share stories, insights, and practical tips to help you thrive in all aspects of your life. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered to create your own path to total wellness and balance. This is Frida's World, and I am your host, Rita Pierre. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Frida's World, a podcast where we talk about all things total wellness as it pertains to professional Black women. And today I have the opportunity to be with an amazing guest by the name of Ryane LeCesne. Ryane, thank you so much for being part of the Frida's World family today.
Thank you. Thank you, Rita. It's really exciting to be here with you and your listening audience.
Yes. So Ryane, if you could just take some time to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Sure. Great. So I think I'll start with what I do, if that's okay, because then I'll give intro organically to how I got here and where I'm from. So imagine this is exactly the audience I'm talking about, because it is high achieving professional Black women. And we know this story. We know being at Sunday, maybe a boozy brunch with our girlfriends, and we can know that the topic can be sometimes focused on how tough things are. You know, it can be, I really want to shift in my career and I can't figure out how to state my value. I want to start this business because I've got this great idea and everyone keeps telling me I should bake these pies and I don't know what to do. Or I want to retire and what would I do next? Or we've got these, these sticky situations. And at Sunday brunch, we each go around and talk about how difficult things are. And while we leave and we can feel very connected to our sisters, which is very important, oftentimes we don't leave with answers. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I come in. I come in because I have a lot of answers, but I don't have your answers. What I have is I create the space, the place, and the time and the process to sit with those questions, right? So for it not to be someone else's turn, but to really sit with, wow, I've got this really pressing idea that I've got to get out into the world and I don't know how, or I really want to make it to that next ladder of success and I am paralyzed with fear. We've got to sit with that. We've got to heal. We cannot hide at the same time, right? And so if we want to advance, we really have to be able to heal those aspects about ourselves. And so that is what I do. I am a coach who really supports high achieving Black women to tap into their mindsets and to become very conscious of their self-limiting BS, their belief systems that hold them back, to get really, really clear on their strengths, on their value, re-identifying with their self-worth, closing their confidence gaps, to identifying the personal brands. I mean, it is about really becoming your own best friend. So that is what I do. I'm super passionate about this. One, because I am a high achieving Black woman. First and foremost, I think it's important to me because I am us. And what I know is our story, while we have a unique intersection, I would say, we have common stories and common narratives. However, we are human beings. And I know, first and foremost, how challenging it is to be a human being with goals and to want to advance. And this business called Inspire Brand Consulting has been the biggest, hairiest, scariest goal I have ever sought to ever go on a quest to make happen. And it incited all of the things that I support my clients go through: imposter syndrome, perfectionism, distractionism, which up until this year has been undiagnosed ADHD. So I am the person that I coach. I got here because I'm from Reston, Virginia, which is in the DC area. And a place to start is I was, about 34, maybe this is about 10 years ago now, and maybe a little bit less. And it was about 8 years ago. And I had just finished my master's degree at Georgetown, and it was in strategic communications and marketing. And as an aside, I had also started Inspire Sunday Brunch, which was in 2012, a platform where I brought my girlfriends together and I started delivering empowerment conversations. And so there was Inspire was like a personal maybe mission or really a hobby that in 2015, at this time that I was storytelling, I was just finished my master's degree. I was invited to come to a workshop with 3 or 4 other women that was taught by a coach, a female coach. And I had never worked with a coach before. I had never really even heard of coaching, although I was teaching leadership where I was working. So it was very steeped in like personal development. And so I was very jazzed about going to this workshop where we were going to talk about visioning and our careers and all things coaching, personal development. And so she, being Sunny, asked this very pivotal question that launched my business in a very specific direction called coaching and energy management. And she asked, do you speak to yourself as if you are your own best friend? The question slaps me in the face so emotionally in 2 ways. One, the shame that came up, that was triggered, was that warm, as Brene Brown calls it, that warm feeling that comes up, that ooze of like, oh my God, I've been seen. My biggest secret has been seen, that I'm a fraud. I show up as nice and kind and considerate to every other person, but I am so mean to myself. I mean, I am so mean. I didn't even realize it until the question was presented. And I was convicted with, I have to figure this out and have to figure this out for other people. I mean, it was like on fire. And that was when Inspire became a coaching business. I went back to Georgetown to get my coaching certification. So I am a professional certified coach, and I have created a business that is focused on high achieving women to advance, and that's to advance in their career. So whether that is in a traditional career or whether that is to scale a small business, my focus is mindset. So people might come and say, I can't figure out how to write my resume, or I just spend hours practicing, a presentation. I'm just stuck with it. Or I've got this great idea, but I don't know what to do with it as a business. It always starts as like something like that. But very quickly we discover, oh my God, I'm telling myself I can't. And that's the work. That's work. That's work to be done. So that's what I do. That's where I'm from. And I think that's a little bit how I got here.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I mean, as you were talking, I'm like, yes, that sounds like me. That sounds like me. And when you indicated like that fraud moment, where a lot of times when we think about fraud, we think about how we are acting towards other people, how we're not showing up for other people. But you are so right. Like we need to start thinking about, how are we showing up with ourselves? Like, kind to you, but mean to me is like, it was mind blowing when you said that. And I feel like so many of us who are tuning in, like that light bulb probably like just went out, because we engage in so much negative self-talk and so much I can't, but we're always the biggest cheerleader for everyone else. It's so weird.
That's right. That's right. And when I landed on a couple of weeks ago, I really, really, really landed on the point of view of my business, which is we cannot heal and hide at the same time. We cannot. We cannot do it. And we're either healing or hiding. And I think I have to say things to me. It's important to me when I talk about when I talk about race, when I talk about race dynamics, it's important for me to talk about I am an individual person from an individual perspective. And I have only ever been a Black woman. So I don't know what it's like to be anybody else.
Right.
What I can say is that as a collective, from what I have experienced and from the people that I have talked to, which, I mean, in terms of my credibility, I went to Spelman College. I'm in all the things, all the clubs. I know Black women. I know us. And one of the things that is really difficult for us is putting ourselves on the list, right? On the list, not even at the back of the list, but on the list. And we do the things, and it may be the same for other ethnicities. You know, we're human beings. So, you know, we all have tendencies. And yet I will say 9 times out of 10, if I talk to people, they say, I can't put myself on the list. I can't figure out how to make at the time. And this is where a person's brilliance team is so incredibly critical. And this is one of my 9 steps that I teach, is to build a brilliance team. So when you build a brilliance team, what you have is you have experts on your bench who you have as like consultants. They help you to figure things out in your life. Like, I am a coach. I am a brilliance team member on my clients, roster. For myself, I have my own coach that I work with. I've been working with her since the start of my business. I've hired another coach in between. I've done different kinds of things when I was doing different kinds of studies. I also have an acupuncturist. I have a therapist. I have my general practitioner. I mean, building a brilliance team. We're not meant to do all of this on our own. That's why I go to the Sunday brunch. We can leave. I know this is like no shade, because this is me. Remember, I'm like part of this tribe. I have gone to many Sunday brunches and I have left feeling cathartic because I feel like I've been seen and heard, and I'm not alone. And yet I don't have answers to move forward. And so, putting yourself on the list is investing in yourself, to get yourself the coach, to get yourself the therapist, so that like you're literally on your calendar. You're literally on it. You've made the investment in you. And it makes a world of difference, because then you're not hiding. You're not hiding within time.
Right. And I like how you put that, because I think a lot of us, when we think about, getting the therapist, getting the coach, we're still not, like, our minds are still not geared to seeing it as us putting it on the list, right? As it's something that we're doing for us. It's kind of like, well, I feel like I'm going through some anxiety. Let me bring in somebody to fix me. Or I need, help launching this business. Let me bring in a coach to help me launch this business. But I like how you characterize it as, you're putting yourself on the list by pouring into yourself, by bringing in these members, right, that can help you elevate. So I love how you worded that. So therefore, those who are kind of on the fence about therapy or coaching, they can have a different viewpoint and see it as a brilliance team member.
Absolutely. And like, for instance, a brilliance team member that is new to my life is housekeeping. Okay. Now let me tell you, my grandmother was a domestic, both of them, but one was like, that was like, her career. So my mother has taught me how to clean. Like, I know how to clean, and it is ingrained in me that you clean. Like, not that you don't, I mean, you can, but you do it. Like, you don't make them, oh my God, you mean I'm going to spend X amount of dollars on something that I can do myself? Like, what? Why would I do that? And so here I am at 43. I have a 5-year-old, my husband and I, and we live in Michigan. So we have a house that is ginormous compared to like what I've ever lived in before. And we could use the help. And so we found some amazing 2 sisters who clean our house. Now what does that sounds maybe frivolous, but what does that mean for me? That means that I get to walk. This is what it literally does to my blood pressure, to my nervous system. And we're talking about the subconscious mind today. So this is what it does to my nervous system. I get to walk into a house and my blood pressure immediately drops, because my environment is a reflection of my inner space, and my inner space is a reflection of my outer environment. Well, guess what, world? I am doing a whole lot of things. So I can't manage my inner space and outer space to the degree of cleanliness that these ladies do in 3 hours.
Right.
That actually allow my outer space and inner space to sync up in a way that is worth $125 every 2 weeks for my blood pressure to literally be like, oh my God, I don't have to live and look at, a space that is screaming back to me, you should clean it. You should do it. You should. And it's like, no, my environment isn't saying that. My environment is saying like, I am happy and joyous and welcome home. And that is the new Brilliance team member for me. And it's game changing.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that because I remember the first time a friend of mine introduced the idea of somebody coming in to clean my house. It was the same thing. I'm like, I have an apartment, it's going to be a waste of money. I can do this. I should do this. And then at the time, my therapist was like, how would you feel? Like, let's imagine you walk in to a clean house. Like, how would you feel? And I was like, I would feel amazing. So the next week I booked the cleaner and exactly what my therapist explained that experience. I opened my door. Everything was clean. I was in such a better space. So yes, I totally understand where you're coming from with that.
So Retha, I want to just share with you the magic fairy dust that your therapist did. What your therapist helped you do was to re-envision an outcome, right? Literally sit with it. She said, imagine that is a high sense, one of the 5 that we have. Vision is a very high sense. She said, imagine what that would feel like. So she had you envision and then actually invoke a feeling. And the two together shifted your mindset to the degree that up until that point, you were not able to hire someone to the point where you were able to take action. Yeah. I mean, that is a huge shift by reimagining what's possible, by feeling that possibility, you were able to take action. So this is no light conversation we're having. I mean, this is like deep, deep, deep stuff. It's life-changing work. Therapist, coach, 2 different things. I'm happy to talk about the distinction of the 2. However, they both will serve you incredibly well. Yes.
So today I know we're going to be talking about the subconscious mind. And I love this title that you had, the subconscious mind and like how it runs your life. And I was very intrigued by that because it hit me. I'm like, a lot of the things that I'm doing, sometimes I'm not actually conscious of it, right? Like where some of this negative self-talk comes from, where some of these limiting, belief comes from, not even really sure. And so when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I really feel like my audience, listeners would benefit so much from this because so many of us who are in our, high-powered careers, who are launching businesses, we're getting to that level in our careers or in our businesses where we're kind of like, there's another level to go to, but, a lot of us are like, I don't know if I'm ready for that next level. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know if I should. And so we're taking ourselves out of the race. We're foregoing opportunities and we're thoroughly confused as to why. Like we can't put into words why we don't think we're good enough or why we are shying away. So I wanted to really have this conversation with you, as to, what is this subconscious mind and how is it taking over our lives? Like, how is it running the show?
Yeah, thank you. So first, I again want to really thank you for having this conversation because this isn't a topic but for the fact that this is my jam, right? Like this could read and study and which I do about this literally all day long. This would not be a topic of conversation that I would be having normally. I mean, it may be now in 2023, something that comes up at Sunday brunch, but not in this constructive type of way where it's education, where somebody's like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. I say that just to normalize that this is like perhaps a new conversation for some people in this way. Okay. So I am very much going to be talking about the science of the subconscious mind. Like this is not opinion. I will share with you when it is my opinion. everything so far has been background. What I'm going to give you is science, and is the consistent science. And so this is not opinion. It's not what I've made up. It's, it is what it is. And I'm going to try my best to really shed light on how we as human beings are designed, to the best of my ability. So as it relates to the subconscious mind. So, first of all, I want to talk about the idea of what is the mind, right? What's the mind? Because if you ask me, like, what is the mind? Oftentimes I might think about the brain, as being the mind. But when you think about the mind, what the mind is your entire system, your whole thing, your whole being is your mind. Everything, even actually outside of your skin, is including your mind, because our energy actually emanates 6 feet at a minimum outside of us. So that whole thing is your mind. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had anybody walk up on you and you just felt their presence. That's part of your mind actually working. That's part of your nervous system, right? So you are your mind. Your mind is your whole thing. It's in your fingernails. It's in your eyeballs. It's the whole thing. It's your mind. So when we think about that, we also then recognize that we are energy beings. We are beings that emanate energy. We take in energy. We essentially are energy. So we are these energetic beings that also when we take energy in, we take it in through our senses. Our 5 senses translate stimuli. They translate the world. I see, chaos, and my nervous system takes in that chaos, and it decodes that. It says oh, this is a chaotic experience. You need to run, or you need to protect yourself or whatever. It translates that information, and then the person or being acts accordingly. Okay. So that's broad view. So subconscious mind, conscious mind. So the conscious mind is 5% of who and what we are. 5%. It is it's like a tablespoon of water, it's compared to the ocean. It's a tiny, 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 tiny percentage of who and what we are. And it's the thinking mind that says, I got up this morning and remembered to do that. And, you bad girl, and you're smart girl. It is like the talking mind, the monkey mind, chatter, 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 chatter. The subconscious mind is 95% of who and what we are. And this is our habitual programming. It's good stuff. It's great beliefs. Like, I'm thirsty, I can go to the tap and get some water. That's a belief. In other parts of the world, that's not true. So that's not a belief for people, right? So they're benign beliefs. There's great beliefs. There's beliefs that have kept us safe. And there are beliefs that absolutely self-limit us. Absolutely. And we don't even recognize that we're doing those things. So what does that mean? All right. So, and how is this powerful? So everyone in your listening audience has at least been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. They have lived a life. Some of these people, some of you all, have also are raising people. And so you have seen the development of the subconscious and the conscious mind, whether you were really aware of it or not. So let's take our own lives as an example. We each have gone through development. We each have, as children, we've had some levels of trauma. Others have had other levels of trauma. It doesn't matter, but any experience where your nervous system was stimulated to the point where it left an impression on you. So let's take my daughter as an example. This morning, we had a little bit of a difficult time. She's 5, and she very clearly told me no. Well, mommy went immediately to, that's a 2, right? And I had to be very sensitive with what is my message here? Because her subconscious mind, more than her conscious mind, 95% of her, and because she is 5, she's in a hypnotic state in her mind set. She's taking all of this in. And if I tell her, you don't ever tell mommy no, that could be, and if it really rattles her nervous system, if I shame her, shame on you, you little girl, shame on you for having told me no, shame, not just addressing the message, but if I had shamed her to the point where she had really broken down, it left a major imprint, which she did tell me I broke her heart a little bit. So there was some rattlement there. Okay. That experience 25 years from now, absolutely can and will raise its ugly head when my daughter or when I, with that messaging, go to reach for, let me raise my hand and advocate for myself. There's going to be a message in the back of my mind that says 95% like loudly, you don't do that. You don't tell people no. Mm-hmm. You don't advocate for yourself. This has become a belief because it was impressed on the subconscious mind at a young age that this is who and what we are. Now that's how that happens at a young age. Now this happens all through life. Mm-hmm. We have these experiences. We have these experiences at work. You know, we are humiliated at work. And the subconscious mind says, I'm never doing that again, right? Like we're protecting ourselves. So we do anything and everything we can, programming to avoid that type of situation. And then we wonder, why am I feeling so stuck? Well, we had experiences that we have not processed through. We have experiences that we are unaware of, that we have forgotten, that aren't even in our consciousness anymore, but they have left an indelible mark on the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has created a belief around that experience, and that belief is trying its best, honestly, to keep you protected. You know, if a person has a fear of being humiliated and they raise their hand again, the chances are, you know, they're at least putting themselves in the potential of some potential. And so keeping their hand down, as much as they might want to raise it, is in some way keeping them safe. And so what we've got to do, if we want to advance, we want to move past this, we've got to really learn about our subconscious mind and learn how to reprogram ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man, as you're talking, I'm like, there's so many things that are coming up with that. And I'm thinking about like my childhood and how some of my, self-limiting beliefs, like, formed just by that example of you and your daughter. I'm like, how many of those instances, have we gone through? And I don't think that most of us are aware how these things have followed us throughout our lives and have caused us to have these moments of self-doubt, these limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, and all these things. And so I want to ask you in terms of, what can it really look like? So, for a lot of our women, they are in, the corporate spaces, the nonprofit spaces. A lot of them are in the mid to high level aspects of their career. So when we're talking about self-limiting beliefs, could you talk about some of the common ones? Because someone could be tuning in, they're like, oh no, I'm okay with no, but I'm sure that there are so many others that we don't even realize is self-limiting,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm just going to do my best to kind of tap into, some of just kind of rattle off. So, common kind of colloquial things are things like, I have to work twice as hard to get half. Mm-hmm. Like that's a belief. Like I must. That leads to, I have to be more silent around negotiation than other people. It leads to, I have to show up absolutely perfect. I am not here to play. I am not here to be your friend. I have to, if I show absolute weakness, if I show any doubt, if I show any flawlessness, these people are coming for me. So I've got to come with it. If that is an experience that somebody is experiencing, their nervous system is also experiencing that. Mm. Okay. Do not doubt that your nervous system is experiencing all of that heightened, experience. Mm-hmm. Things like, that leads to self-doubt. That leads to second guessing. That leads to, if I have to show up perfect, I have to question every single emotion, every single facial expression, every micro expression, every gesture of my hair, everything, right? I have to question all of it, which then leads to a feeling of being under attack. Mm-hmm. Leads to a feeling of being, I have to either be on guard or I can't let my defenses down. And it's all subtle. It doesn't have to even be something that if they answered a questionnaire of like, oh yeah, what's keeping my hand down is that I don't want to be perceived this way. It's that, it might present as like, oh, well, I don't want people to think I'm bragging, or I don't want people to think I'm stupid. I don't want people to think. That's a clear one. I don't want to look. Okay. Fill it in with anything. I don't want to be perceived as. Fill it in with anything. And as if it's making you hold back, it's a self-limiting belief. Okay. I don't have the time to. I don't have the money to. I don't have the experience to. I don't have the resume to. I don't have the network to. I don't have the education to. I wasn't in that group. I don't have that background. I wasn't, there are no people who look like me in the room. I mean, all of these things, if they hold you back, if they make you second guess, that is an internalized voice of self-limitation.
Yeah. I mean, you rattled so many off and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes, sister. And I could keep going, honestly. And each one begets another one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We say this all the time, even in like my groups with my friends. We all are like, talking about either next steps, but then there will be I don't have the money to, or you know what? I don't have this certification. I don't have this extra, especially with the certifications. I feel like, nowadays, there's this big push with certifications, I guess. You have your law degree, you have your MBA, but people are still looking for certifications. And a lot of times I'll hear that with my friends. Like, I would certainly go for this job. I have all the qualifications, but I don't have the certification. So I'm not going to even apply, not knowing that the certification probably really isn't that important for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and I think that is like a very classic example of what we mean by taking ourselves out of the game, And so if we sat with that, right, versus at Sunday brunch, we're at volleys. Me too. I just can't, right? We're all walking around with, I can't, I shouldn't. Yeah, girl. And you should. And you have the right, all of that. If we really sit with that person who is feeling like, exactly what you just said, their state of being, I would do this, but I don't have the time, or I don't have the money. If we sat with what is it costing you to stay where you are? What are you losing? Let's really sit with that and just start really asking those questions. The person really gets to their own answers versus the spinning. That's what I really want people to understand. It's like, you don't have to keep spinning. Mm-hmm. You can get the help to get off the hamster wheel. Like, that's what I help get off the hamster wheel. Stop the spinning. Get off. Let's ground into what's really happening. Let's, it is not the most comfortable to peel back. We all have peeled off Band-Aids. Okay, but rip it off. Get off the Band-Aid. Let's really look at what's here. You are afraid of rejection. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of rejection. And let's deal with the voice in your head that is saying, you're going to fail. It's going to be bad, because that voice is causing a chemical response. That voice, first of all, lives in the subconscious mind, bringing it back to that, because it is an impulse that's happening. Your conscious mind is trying to say, like, shut up, but it's overtaking you. 95% of you is pumping this. And so that thought is projecting a very clear image on the screen of the mind that says, you're failing. I see myself failing. I see myself applying for that job, and I see myself getting the rejection letter, and I feel how bad that hurts. And I can feel how shamed I will feel. That feels too bad. So I'm going to keep my hand down. So let's deal with that, reprogram that.
Yeah.
So you have your hand up.
I think sometimes when we think about confronting these topics, like these issues, like the rejection, that uncomfortability is what leads us to kind of say, you know what? I'm just going to keep playing small. I'm not.
Yes. Do you know why? Because in the past, what the body does, the body is energy, no different. In the past, there was an experience of perceived rejection. Now, I say perceived, because let's say to the other person, they actually weren't rejecting, but there was like perception. It doesn't even, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't even matter. It's perceived rejection. And let's say this person was like 7 and the rejection was a cupcake that was given to another kid. But at 7, it was like it was really, I mean, we've had these moments where, oh my God, I am crushed because it was my best friend who gave it to this person who I hate. Right. And at that moment, I did not realize it, but this isn't me, but I created a belief. I've got others. I've created a belief that I am not worthy, not worthy. And that belief has stuck with me. And if it's left unaddressed, that belief is going to wreak havoc in the future. And so we've got to figure out how to and this is, the work, address those pieces so that they're literally, in terms of energy, it's held in the body. At that point, it's held in the body. So in the future, when you're reimagining, at 40, oh my God, I don't want to apply to this thing, it registers in the body because it hasn't been processed. It's still living in there and it's triggered. And it's like, oh, hell no, that rejection, I don't even remember where it came from. I don't even go back to 7 in my mind. I just know that feeling is pumping through my body and I hate it and I'm not going to experience it. Therefore, in a flash of an instant, what was a brilliant idea left me because it was too scary. The thought of it was just simply too scary. And it all happened so fast that we don't even go to consciously, at 7, this happened. It was an immediate feeling that was triggered and we move forward. Yeah. We don't apply.
Yeah. So then I guess my next question would be, what are some of the practical strategies then, right? That some of the techniques that professional Black women especially can use to kind of become more aware and to overcome some of these self-limiting beliefs that's rooted in the subconscious mind? Because most of us are not aware. We have no idea where all this is rooted in. We don't even understand the conscious versus subconscious. So I guess, what kind of strategies, what kind of techniques could be used to help us become more aware and to really gain that understanding?
Absolutely. So I want to answer that by saying 2 things. One is the techniques I'm giving are absolutely human techniques. And the reason that we don't know isn't because we're Black women. It's because this is really, really new information. And we tend to be on the last of getting this kind of, so that's the 2, right? And I am a Black woman. So this is my message to us. This is a generic human message delivered by a Black person to Black people about human design, not about us as black people. We don't have some kind of broken gene. You know what I mean? Right. So it's this. So I just want to really be very clear. These are human practices. So if you pick up Deepak Chopra, if you pick up Louise Hay, these are all people talking what I learned. These are people that I learned from the gurus talking about this, how to literally change from the inside out. And I'm delivering it from a Black body to a Black body. Okay. So these are human things. I cannot iterate that enough. First of all, what to do is to really commit to healing. Let me start there. Commit to healing and say, I don't know how, because that's not my job, but I am committed to healing myself and the universe will meet you there. Okay. That's the first and foremost thing. Secondly, in terms of process, that's ground zero. Process number 1 would be to begin becoming aware of your thoughts. How do you do that? How do you become self-aware? Strategies like therapy and coaching, they are conversations that are focused on the person only. So you begin to hear and get in touch with and in tune with how you're thinking, what you're thinking, how you're processing with an expert who's helping you to excavate that. Very powerful. Another technique within the same domain of self-awareness as a personal practice, as something you can do without someone else, is meditation. Now, this is so critical because I can imagine there's a lot of eye roll of I've tried that before, that I'm not good at that. That's not that I'm not good at it. Okay. So I want to very, very quickly bust some myths about meditation and also give the science as to why this is so very important. And this is a big one. Okay. So we talked about the subconscious mind is 95% of the show. And we also talked about the fact that because it's subconscious, we are unaware of this. This is patterning, conditioning, habitual, impulsive, compulsive behavior, good or bad. That is what it is. And again, the emphasis is that we are unaware of it. When we begin to meditate, there's a couple things that happen. One, now I'm going to move into busting the myths. What we think we're supposed to do is we think we're supposed to have no thoughts at all. And we're supposed to go to this euphoric place of no thoughts. That's a lie. That's a lie. What we're supposed to do in meditation is this. You come to a still space. That might be through closing your eyes, and you tend to focus on the breath or focus on something. The breath is phenomenal because it goes everywhere you go. And from a psychosomatic, from your body, in your brain kind of connection, as you breathe, you're also helping your vessel, your body, to relax its nervous system. So it's a dual purpose here. Focus and relax. Okay. The idea is that you focus, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And then your mind is supposed to do what it does is it thinks. Your conscious mind, 5% of you is thinking, and you go off and you wander off down that path and you think about the dumb thing you said and the smart thing you said and the shopping list. And then you're like, oh, right. I'm not supposed to be thinking about that and also get hooked on it. And I'm supposed to like come back to my breath, and I come back and breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Oh, and I get lost and I'm pissed about that thing. And oh, right. I'm supposed to be meditating. Boop, in and out, in and out. Okay. That's the practice. That's it. Now, what does that do? And how does this benefit you? So let's go back to the person who wants this job but won't apply because she has all the things but doesn't have the certification. So she realizes that she's filled out the application and all she needs to do is push send, but it's been in her box for 10 days and she can't do it because every time she puts her keys on the keyboard, she gets anxious. And she's been doing her meditation. And so because she's practiced, the thought, her mind getting hijacked, it went down the road. She even got pissed about things. Oh, but she brought it back. Mm-hmm. She stopped that hijacking experience. She took her power back consciously. She is telling the subconscious mind, I don't belong down that portal that you just took me down. Sort of unbeknownst to my conscious mind, I sort of was traveled down there. No. I'm taking my power back consciously and I'm putting it on one spot, whatever that is. And then I get hijacked again. And I'm so good at this, I come back again. And I have done so many reps of this that in real time, I can feel my hands on the keyboard and I can feel that wave of anxiety come up inside of me. I can hear that thought of, you don't have enough, what it takes. And I can focus on my breath. I can let go of that thought. I can tell that feeling to go to hell, and I can push the button. That's how meditation works. And that's why it makes a difference, because you're training your nervous system to not be hijacked by its natural job, which is to go where the thoughts go. And you bring the thoughts back. Go where the thoughts go. You bring the thoughts back. You become the master of that. And then in real time and in real play, when things really matter, you're less hijackable.
I like that. And, I will say up until recently, I believed that meditation was, the quieting of the mind, just like in this dark, blank space. And I used to say all the time, I'm not good at this because every time I try, I'm thinking about a million things. And it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, this woman who does guided meditation. She's like, well, actually, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to be thinking about all these different things. And so I was like, it was a pivotal moment for me because I would forego even attempting because I'm like, my brain always wanders. Like I can't do this silence and darkness thing, but I'm hoping that those who are tuning in today who have also struggled with, with this, I guess, this false belief, right, of what meditation is, I'm hoping that we can all go back and give meditation another try.
I hope so. So that's step number 2 is to become aware. Really, step number 1, becoming aware of your thoughts as a practice, therapy, coaching, meditation. But then it's really what to do with the thoughts. And that's, again, looping back to coaching and therapy. What I realize I have these habitual thoughts. What do I do with them and about them? So those steps, that's exactly what I help clients successfully do. And quite frankly, that's also what I have done successfully, is that exact process.
Okay. So I want to now move into kind of leveraging power, right? And so, we're on this journey of self-awareness. Some of us are going to be engaging in meditation. How can we, I guess, better leverage the power of our subconscious mind to gain like the clarity, to gain confidence and the courage in advancing in our careers and building our businesses and really living the life that we truly dream of?
Absolutely. So the subconscious mind is a recording. That's all that it is a recording of the past. And when we have self-doubt, it is a recognition that within that recording, there's a very, very loud belief that is incongruent with whatever the desire is. Okay. So there's an incongruency between belief and desire. And it lives, like the beliefs live in the subconscious mind. Again, like if we lived in a part of the world where there was no water, saying to somebody, go to the tap to get water, even if it were a possibility someplace else, they wouldn't believe it. They couldn't go do it. They could, it wouldn't, there would be an incongruent experience. Even if you showed them a video and they might believe, okay, I understand, but have not had that experience. I don't believe it to be true. I can't, there's an incongruency there for hopefully that visual makes sense. Okay. So with that being said, what can you do to leverage the subconscious mind? What you can do to leverage the subconscious mind is to intentionally, with intention, program it with the things that you want to believe about yourself. Literally. So that takes place with things like hypnosis. Hypnosis is a very, very, very powerful technique to relax the conscious mind, that chatter, 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 chatter. You can't, and relax that 5%, directly connect, because the therapist, the hypnotherapist which I do, is helping you through meditation, breathing, relaxing. You're relaxing that conscious mind almost in a sleep state. And you are speaking directly to the subconscious mind. You are enough. You have what it takes. Literally feeding the self with these powerful affirmations and messages, these beliefs. If done with repetition, that becomes literally just like if I told my daughter over and over and over again, no, 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 that becomes her patterning. If I tell her yes, 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 that becomes her patterning, right? So if you begin to tell yourself, so that's the one technique, is through hypnosis. How can you do this on your own? You can begin through that self-awareness of like, oh, wow, I tell myself this really horrible story. I let go of the need to believe that story. I am now going to believe with dogged intention something else. I believe it. Okay. Another thing that you can do is you can begin to invoke your vision. What happens is when we have fear and doubt, we also have visions of fear and doubt playing out. And so a powerful way to leverage your personal power is to envision, and in this, like until you kind of buy into the science of this, it sounds hokey. But if you think about how scary your thoughts are and how they paralyze you, recognize that is the power. All that we're doing is inverting that power and taking the power back. That's it. It's already happening. So it's about owning the experience. And it's about, as you said, leveraging that energy in the direction that we want to go. We're already doing it. So you're already catastrophizing it in some way. Now it is about optimizing it in the other way. Right. So that in and of itself is a very, very powerful way to support the subconscious mind be reprogrammed, because that's what it's about. Now, there's also a very, very, very powerful healing technique, and I'm going to actually pull it out. And it is a Hawaiian. Now, this is going to be some interesting words. I want y'all to look these things up. This is a Hawaiian shamanic healing practice. It's called Ho'oponopono. Okay. And what this is it's basically a mantra. It is 5 parts. it's generally heard in 4 parts, but I'm going to give all 5. It's 5 parts. And this is something that you can do at any point in time and do this on repetition. And it can be very powerful to literally remove negative beliefs and to fill the beliefs with this. And what do I mean by that? It's like going back to the person who wants to apply but is afraid of rejection. If she were able to be her own best friend, not Sunday brunch, but in her own mind, say, I love you. You are worthy of this. You can do this. You've got this. It's okay. You've dealt with rejection, whatever, past feelings. It doesn't even matter. That's not even the percent. You've got this. Like, what if she could reparent herself and best friend herself in that way? Would she feel better about her life? Right? That's the critical point we're talking about here. The words we speak to ourselves are the only words that matter. That's it. They're the only words that matter. So this helps to replace these negative thoughts. It goes like this. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I forgives myself. Now taking each piece, I love you. So affirming for the self, I love you. I love you, right? And if you sit with saying to yourself, I love you for about 60 seconds, it's going to invoke something within you. I mean, you're going to feel some kind of way, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just like if you were to accidentally bump into somebody, I'm sorry. You don't have to own a whole lot, but I'm sorry, self, that in the past, I didn't know that this was even hurting you. I'm sorry, friend, and that I'm holding on to my mind, this resentment. I'm sorry that I'm sorry, right? Please forgive me. Please, ask him for forgiveness. Forgive me for that wrong that I did, or forgive me for not knowing, forgive me for just not having boundaries. Thank you. That level of gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. And these are things you just say over and over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I forgives myself. Woo. Say that 10 times. I forgives myself. Me, the God within me forgives the shadow. I forgive because it's not even there. I'm worthy of my own forgiveness. How much are we holding on to that we perceive as things we've done? Hold on to stuff 25 years ago, I did. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed of that thing. I forgive you for that. You didn't know. At that time, you did not know. You were not the person you are today. You would not if we talk to ourselves in this way, this practice will help you get your mindset all the way right, because you will begin to talk to yourself very differently. That's the power of the subconscious mind.
Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm just like, wow, a lot of us are really just kind of stuck. We just feel so stuck, and we know we're capable because we've gotten this far in our careers. We've gotten this far in our businesses and life. But it's just that, especially when we're in the late 30s or in our early 40s, we're we still have a lot more life to live, but we've gotten to this midpoint where we're questioning a bunch of things. We're questioning our ability to move forward to whatever that is. So I think that, those words, these mantras, these affirmations, I think will be so critical for many of us, because a lot of times we don't tell ourselves we love us, right? Or that we forgive us. And some of us are not ready for whatever emotions might come out by even sitting and taking that time to even address these things. So I'm really happy that you shared that with us, and that you were able to really kind of get into this little deep dive as to what the subconscious mind is. Because I do truly believe that it is literally running the show. We don't have control of what's happening because of our subconscious mind.
Completely 100% agree with you. We do not have control, and we can leverage more of our personal power by reprogramming the lack of control that we have. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if the subconscious mind is pumping out I love you. You can do this as a habit. That's a habit. Mm-hmm. There are people in this world who tell themselves that, right? They're like Beyonce must tell herself something like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, right. To be able to like do what she does, she must look at herself and be like, girl, you might not have whatever, but you have enough to believe in yourself. I mean, what if we all believed that we are enough? I saw this clip the other day so first of all, let me just give the caveat. Like I'm so like a little bit disconnected with like current things that I like plug into them, but I like don't have all of it. So, but I just have to give that frame. Okay. So the new show, Charlotte, with the Queen.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you see how I'm like, I know, but I don't. Right. Okay.
Yes.
So she was being interviewed by a beautiful Black female interviewer. And the interviewer at the end said, oh my God, will you please say, and the actress who, again, please forgive me for like not knowing all the details of, okay, but the actress was like, oh my God, what are you, I'm on the spot. So will you please say the phrase that you say, at the coronations? And so she got into character and she said, you are the diamond. You are the ball, the bell of the ball. The interviewer choked up because she, for whatever reason, hearing that message directed at her spoke to her soul. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Here, this woman is in character, right? In character. But her spirit felt so invoked by hearing that she was the diamond, that she was the chosen girl of a ball that does not even exist, but she was moved emotionally. What if she told herself that every day? What if she could tell herself that rather than have a character of another person tell her that and be invoked with that type of feeling? Mm-hmm. If we knew that we were the diamonds of our own balls, we would be the Beyoncés of our lives. Like, right. Yeah, it's possible. It is possible.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of us, we grew up, unfortunately, not understanding what possibility looked like. We didn't know what possibility was beyond, okay, we're in school. It's possible that I can get good grades or I can go to college. But in terms of living the life that you envision, it's, we talk about it a lot. I can speak of, for myself, even we talk about it a lot, like, oh yeah, but we're sometimes even so afraid to dare to even dream of such life because we're like, it's just not attainable. Like we're, regular people. We're just trying to do good in our respective jobs. It's already, a miracle for some of us to even be where we are. So I think that a lot of times those thoughts and this, well, we're lucky to be here mentality is really what keeps us from even understanding that there's more and that we're allowed to even dream of more.
Retha, so what you've just done so beautifully is you talked about many of those intersections that are common within the conversations that I hear from my clients. Exactly. That exact position. And you said it so beautifully and from multi dimensions. From one, this idea of we have been placed on a blueprint, do these things, go to school, get the job. And that momentum brings you into your 40s, brings you into your 30s. And then you look up and you've got to bring yourself the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was us the whole time, but there's no more blueprint. Right. And this is why. And, I don't stand in this as like a sales because that's like, so you can't even sell coaching. What I'm talking about is my own personal experience with a coach, let alone that I do this. It is my experience of being that person who hadn't seen owning a business, came from a background of serious messages of interlaced with you can do it and you're amazing, interlaced with don't outshine. Don't you ever outshine. Shame on you for outshining. Shame on you for being smart. Shame on you for having any sense of anybody attraction. Shame. I mean, there was a lot of shame on brightness. And I think a lot of high achievers, we have shame around that.
Mm-hmm.
I was the smart one and and I excelled and I had to leave my community. We are carrying all of this. I cannot say enough. Invest in yourself. Invest. I am where I am because I invested in myself. Mm-hmm. I am not telling myself the abusive, harsh, horrible things that I was habitually saying. It took time. It took lots of investment and excavation, but I also was my whole vision for my life. Not everybody needs to take this seriously, but my whole vision for my life and my business is to be intergenerational healing. Like that's who and what I am. Mm-hmm. So I had to take it to this degree. Not everybody has to dedicate their life to the subconscious mind to have the effects that I'm having, because this is my jam. My clients have the effects because I'm good at my job and I understand, you know what I mean? So this is the whole thing. Like you out there listening to this, you don't have to become a coach to coach yourself. Like you get the coach, right? And the coach is the expert. You show up just like if you were learning how to do golf. You don't hide yourself in the closet learning golf and then go get a golf coach. Mm-hmm. How do you get good at golf if you don't, like get out there and it's like, this is the game of life. I did not make that up. That is a book, that is phenomenal. And it is the game of life. And how do we really begin to play it? It's by becoming the master of your subconscious mind.
I love that. And so I know we're getting to the end, but I want to just touch on, maybe one example of success, because I know that this is what you do. You're a mastermind coach. And so, could you share with us one success story? Because, people, we've had coaches come on and people are starting to become more open to this idea of a coach. They're understanding that there are many benefits, especially like you said, many of us are at this stage. We don't have a blueprint anymore. And I think that's what's so scary. And that's why we're having these quote unquote midlife crisis, mid-career crisis, because we don't know there's no more roadmap. And so if you could share with us maybe like one success story of somebody that you might have coached, just to kind of give everyone a little bit more of a flavor.
Yeah, absolutely. So one success story that comes to mind, which is very, very, very recent, I may have time for two, but one is like a concrete one. And because we've been talking so much about the subconscious mind, beliefs, the power of visioning. So I was working with a client a couple weeks ago who has been in business for 20 years, very, very, very successful business owner. And she is trying to, taking things to the next level, new products, all kinds of things. And one of the things that she needed to do was she needed to reach out to a contractor for some information. And the information that she needed was like, this was not in her lane at all. It was finance. It was one of those things where you're going to a place where, this person was the expert and they're going to ask you questions and not really be certain of like how this was going to go. So, and yet like she had the relationship. And so there was this idea, this is the whole point. There was this fear of reaching out to her support team who was meant to help her. Now, is that a big deal? Well, yeah, that's a big deal because this woman who is in business has this great idea and she already had this finance consultant on her team who was in charge of this project, but her fear of showing up and not knowing the answers was keeping her from reaching out to the person who's already on her team. So this is like a very real experience, And so we talked about, well, what's happening? And she talked about that she had this vision of showing up and it going left. She wouldn't know the answers. And it caused her, of course, to have a fear response, which is to freeze. Mm-hmm. And we call freeze in business procrastination, right? I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah. It was so what she did was one, she realized, oh my gosh, like I have this very strong visual of what's going on. I'm saying to her, like, okay, do you see this? This is like, let's pick this apart. Like, let's create a new visual. What's happening? You know, what are you noticing? What's the fear that's there? I'm bringing all this out of her. And through self-awareness, she recognizes I'm afraid of failing. And that's what's keeping me from moving forward. And so in between that call and the next call, she spent time like almost unconscious to herself. She wasn't saying like, I'm going to consciously reimagine this. Something clicked within her. Like, oh, I don't have to be afraid of that, right? Like, oh, there was a breakthrough. That's called a breakthrough. This is what happens in coaching. Breakthrough. Oh, that thing, I don't have to be afraid of that anymore. Wow. I didn't even notice or know that I was doing that to myself. I didn't even know that pattern was so habitual. 95% of me, I was compulsively replaying this failing. And it was, you know, causing me to procrastinate. So she shifted the belief to this person is actually here to help me. I don't have to know all the answers. Now, these are the things that she's literally telling herself, which are creating a new sense of well-being. If I don't have to know all the answers, all I have to do is show up, then I don't have to have anxiety. Do you know that means that her body actually literally didn't have anxiety anymore? What that meant was that she scheduled an appointment and she went and she got the help and the resources to move her business forward. Whereas up until that point, she literally couldn't do it because the fear was so unconsciously present. I mean, it was like super in her face, but like super hidden at the same time. You know, It was just what it was. And so in our conversation, she was able to separate herself from it by languaging it, sitting with it, feeling it, getting in touch with it, mastering it, reprogramming it, like doing away with a lot of like, I don't have to believe that anymore, like taking on new, you know, all instantaneously and being able to then actually take action on it, but not only take action because she could have set that appointment and went and had her whole body braced the whole time. Like, oh my God, she's going to ask me. She's going to ask me. She's going to ask me. Very different experience than what she had, right? That's not really success. That's called surviving. Right. And we're in that a lot. And it looks like success, right? Oh my God, I have the role of vice president and I think I'm in success and I just am quaking in my skin. That's not success. That's not well-being.
Yeah.
That's title and that's fraud to yourself. Like that's horrible. And many of us are there, right? Like great titles, great handbags, great closets, la, la, la. And inside we're riddled.
Right.
Sunday brunch becomes very boozy because we are self-medicating. I mean, all the things. Right. So that's like a real success story. You know, I mean, meaning like I've got tons of like another person did a beautiful video talking about, is it worth it? I just, you know, I had an idea about this going for this job in a completely different state. And I was totally afraid. I talked to Ryane about it and figured it out, got clarity, and I'm making $100,000 more. Is it worth it? Yeah. You know, it's like, yes, it's like there's all kinds of different, you know, results.
Right.
Everything from paralysis to action and well-being, which is $1 million to the nervous system to $100,000 increase in pay. Yeah. I mean, that's quite a leap, you know, and I've got like 2 or 3 of those clients who've made those kinds of leaps, in terms of that kind of income. So the inner work works, and I'm very, very, very good at what I do. However, I don't do anybody's work for them.
Right.
These are all my clients doing the inner work, and the inner work, again, while I am very proficient as a guide, the inner work is exactly this. Get really clear on what you want. Get really clear on what's holding you back. You can, with someone or by yourself, reprogram what's holding you back by deciding new beliefs and repeating those beliefs 100 bazillion times until they click. That's change. That's transformation.
I love that. I like how you touched on this aspect of what success is and what it isn't, because like you said, there's so many of us who do have amazing titles and we are so high up there or so revered because of our position. we may be making decent money, able to afford all these things, but we are so unhappy. Like so many of my friends, like we're in the groups and we're all making decent money. We all have huge titles, very professional. And we are just like, I always tell people, if I could just be a barista at Starbucks, like I think I would probably be in my best self.
Right. Yeah. Right. And now imagine saying that to like 3 generations ago. Oh my God. Right. But nonetheless, it doesn't take away our experience of the disconnect, the misalignment. Right. So then we hold like, oh my God. And then I feel even more guilty because how do I explain to somebody that I've got this title and I want to be a barista?
Right.
Shouldn't I want to be here? No. That's the whole thing, because there's a misalignment. This is a great title and great thing, but is this for me? Does this represent my values? Are my strengths being utilized? Do I like this? Do I want to be here? Do I like these people? Is this toxic? All that matters. And do I like myself? That's the thing, because all that. And if we don't like ourselves, we can go be a barista and we're still the chatter as we're making the lattes. It's like, I hate you. You should be on a beach someplace. I mean, then it's, so it's again, what's in between the ears for sure. Right. But I hear you on letting go of this stuff, and then not shaming ourselves for wanting to let go of it.
Right. Man, I feel like we can have this conversation for hours. There's so much. Fun. So definitely we'll bring you back to get into some other content, because this is so important. The work that you do is so important. And I really do encourage those of you who are tuning in to really, start thinking about, getting a coach. And so, Ryane, I definitely would like for you to share your information. How can we get in contact with you? How can we book you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 things. If someone is like at the end of this call, and I have called 2 coaches based on this burning feeling of like, I need to speak to you immediately, get on my calendar by going to my website, www.inspirebrandconsulting.com/gift. That's to immediately put yourself on my calendar. I'm excited to see you. If you're like, wow, this is really interesting, I'm curious to know more, I have a quiz. It's called What's Killing Your Confidence? It's a free quiz, and it gives you, this is no diagnosis, it gives you a little snapshot based on how you answered it, whether perfectionism, imposter syndrome, or distractionism are your key confidence killer. Which one? And so that's like a great free resource tool to get, just like more information and get a sense of, it has a video. So you get a sense of who I am. So it's kind of like working together in this free sort of way. Both of them. One is I'm ready to take action. Put your name on my calendar, please. And the other is, this is really interesting. I'm looking to find out more information. That quiz can be taken at my website just as well. It's called inspirebrandconsulting.com without the backslash. And you'll see a button that says take the quiz.
Okay, cool. And what about social media? Are you on social media?
Yes, social, everything social, Instagram, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of them are at Inspire Brand Consulting.
All right.
All consistent all the way through. Yes. Look forward to connecting with everyone.
Yes, definitely. And so, Ryane, again, thank you so much for taking the time to just drop all these gems and to really bring us to, like, I think, a place of clarity. You really hit it home for me when you said that we are at this point where we do not have a blueprint. That's exactly what I have been missing. I've been trying to figure out, what is this issue that we're experiencing at this point in our lives? And that's exactly what it is. Great. And so I'm really happy that we were able to kind of get to that. I feel like the aha moment is going to go off in everybody else's head as well too. But yes, just thank you for everything that you're doing for our community, for women. And I, again, will definitely want to have you back on this show again to talk about some of these other issues, other things, other concepts with respect to mindset.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much to you, Rita. And thank you to your listening audience. This has been really, really fun.
Thank you. And so everyone, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Frida's World. And as always, we'll talk to you guys next week.